Hello everybody, my name's Kai, I'm a yoga instructor. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 different yoga poses that you can do. You don't need any sort of equipment or anything, you can do them at home for some happier hips. So getting into those hip muscles, into the hip flexors, into like your TFL, your tensor fasciae lata, into specifically your gluteus medius, which kind of wraps around the side of your hip. So things that tend to get really tight, especially with all the sitting that most of us do on a daily basis. So it's really just important to kind of remedy that by doing things like hip stretches. So something that you can do when you wake up, before you go to bed, whatever works best for you. And these are postures that you'll often see when you go to a yoga class of some sort. So without further ado, let's get going. First one we're going to do is a low lunge. So when we come into this from the ground, we're just going to bring 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and you can have your hands down on the ground first and forward. So what I'm looking for is for my front knee to be on top of my front ankle. And then you can stay here, or if you want to work on a little bit more balance as well, you can bring the upper body up. And so the tendency is going to be for that hip of the front leg to fall forward. So what I'm going to try to do is pull that one back so that I have my hips square. So if your body's up like this, we want to tilt the pelvis back so that we're not collapsing down into the hips. So kind of going from this to this. All right, so the idea here is this leg that's coming back. I want to feel a stretch through the front of the quad and maybe into that hip flexor. So those are those muscles that tend to get really tight when we sit, because especially as we get older, we tend to kind of get that shortened front body, and that's when you see that hunched over posture. So really important to do stretches like this every day to help reverse the effects of our lifestyle. So, whenever I'm talking about yoga poses, I like to talk about breaths, not necessarily time. So staying for 5 to 10 deep breaths and then switching on to the other side. Same thing, just knee over the ankle, pulling that back hip forward and that front hip back to square off the hips. You might find that pushing into those back toes helps you find that stretch through the front of the back leg. And just finding that deep breath that goes all the way down into the belly, into the ribs, and into the chest. And then full exhales through the nose. Good. Okay, so that's our first one. Okay. Next one we're going to do is pigeon pose. So this one is tricky, especially if you've got knee issues. So I'm going to go through it, but the other option for pigeon is figure 4, which I'm going to go through in this video as well. So if you're finding pigeon is just not working for you in your body, don't worry about it. It's kind of a tricky one for a lot of people, and you can just stick with figure 4. So we'll start in a tabletop, and what I'm going to do is bring my right knee to my right wrist. It's going to keep this foot flexed to protect the knee, and then my left leg in this case is coming straight back behind me. Now, just like in that first one, I want to try to square my hips. So that back leg is probably going to pull that hip back. So I want to try to pull that hip forward, front hip back to square off my hips. Now you can stay up like this, or you can start to come down into a resting pigeon, supporting the forehead on the hands or the mat or a block or something like that. And at least 10 deep breaths here. Another nice way to support this posture is to put a block or a pillow or something underneath the hip. So I'll show you on the other side. So I would put something underneath this hip because it's not on the ground. I don't have that open of hips. So to support that, so that you can totally just kind of relax into the posture. So coming down to whatever level you want. Nice to support the forehead though, so that the tension that we're trying to release in the hips doesn't move into the jaw and the neck, but you can completely relax. And again, 10 deep breaths, that breath coming all the way into the belly, the ribs, the chest. And then the reverse on the exhale. All right. So there's our first two. Next one is going to be Happy Baby. So this is a great one. Often this is something that yoga teachers will end the class with. It's just a really nice, restorative, kind of comfy feeling posture, I guess. So we're on our backs, and we're going to bend the knees, bring them in towards the chest. Now, Happy Baby, full Happy Baby is bringing the hands to the outsides of the feet, trying to keep that low back pulling down towards the ground, and then we're pulling the feet towards us. So we're getting a pretty intense hip stretch depending on how tight your hips are. There's always the option to kind of rock a little bit, like a baby might. So this is your full Happy Baby pose, and if this is working for you and you can relax through the shoulders, then you can hang out here, 10 deep breaths. Lazy Baby, I've been liking this one lately. You're just grabbing behind the knees. So you're grabbing onto the backs of the thighs, and you're just letting the knees kind of splay out to the side and in towards the chest. You can pull on them if you want, or you can kind of just let them hang out. You're going to rock a little bit. So you're getting a similar hip stretch, it's just a little bit less intense. And again, 10 deep breaths, just like really letting the hips release here. You might find it takes some time for all those muscles that are kind of trying to tense up around what you're trying to release to relax. So giving them that opportunity to do so. So that's Happy Baby. Next, we're going to go into that figure four. So this is a nice option if pigeon wasn't accessible for you. It's pretty much the same stretch. We're just not putting the same kind of strain on the knees and the hips. So I'm going to cross one ankle over the other knee. Important to pull the toes back on that foot. And what that's going to do is engage the muscles around the knee to protect the knee joint. So from here, this might be enough of a stretch. If not, you can start by pressing that bent leg away from you. If you still need to deepen it, we're going to grab for the back of the thigh of the other leg, pull it in towards the chest. At the same time, I'm using my elbow to press my bent leg away from me. So there's that kind of opposition of pulling in and out at the same time. And that's going to help keep the hips square. So try to relax through the shoulders as much as you can, the jaw, the face. You might find that when you come into an intense stretch, especially in the hips where we tend to store a lot of tension, that tension will try to move into other areas instead of kind of, releasing it. So just being mindful of your jaw, your face, your neck, stuff like that. So 5 to 10 full deep breaths in and out through the nose, releasing, and we're coming on to the other side, same thing. And keeping in mind one side's probably going to feel different than the other, but by stretching on both sides, we'll find some more balance. All right, so the very last one is lying down cobblers, or in Sanskrit, it's Supta Baddha Konasana. That means we're in a supine position, so we're lying on our backs. And what we're doing is bringing the soles of the feet together and knees out to the side. So that's all we're doing here. Now some options. The closer the feet are towards the hips, probably the more intense the hip stretch will be. And start to bring the legs out. Sometimes me included, bringing the feet out causes some discomfort in the inner thigh. So you just gotta find what spot works for you and where you can relax into it. You're not kind of tensing, you're just kind of like trying to get through it. If you find this is too much for the hips and the inner thigh, you can support the knees with blocks or pillows. And then we're just breathing here. So if you want, you can even bring the hands, one to the heart, one to the belly, or both on the belly. And with all of these, if you can, find a quiet place to do these, and so you can just close your eyes and be present while you're stretching. Feeling the belly rise softly like a balloon on the inhale, and then on the exhale, deflating all the way down. And just staying here as long as you'd like. So at least 10 breaths, give your body a chance to really relax. You can even kind of do a full body scan, starting at the top of the head all the way down to the toes, just to notice if there's any areas that are getting a little bit tense on you, and you can release through those. And when you're ready, you can slowly come out of that. So that was my 5 yoga poses that I had for you to release some hip tension. So especially at holiday times when we're stressed, and there's all sorts of stress the holidays: family stress, money stress. If you're a student like me, it's exam stress. So you've probably heard this, but a lot of people think that we hold a lot of tension, emotional tension, stress, anger, those types of emotions in our hips. So you might find that really putting in some time and letting yourself really stretch out the hips and taking the time to sit in these postures for a while might be very beneficial physically and emotionally. So I hope that you enjoyed them. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions. So I think that's it for now. Take care, namaste, and we'll see you guys all soon. Bye.